Hello everyone and welcome into Coach Craig's Sports. This is the MLB DFS Core Pick video for today, Friday, August 16th. If you're joining me for the very first time, first of all, welcome in. Second of all, this is how today's video will be structured. We'll be going over my core picks, which is going to be one pitcher, four hitters. It's going to be based on a combination of past performance versus their respective opponent, as well as some recent history. And then after that, we'll get moved over to my cheat sheet and talk about my top GPP teams to stack for tonight's slate overall. That cheat sheet is 100% free. It's up on Facebook, it's up on Twitter, it's up on the YouTube community tab. So definitely feel free to check it out as you're building out your lineups for tonight's slate overall. But without further ado, we'll get into it with the core picks. We'll start off at the pitcher position with Aaron Nola. He's $9,600. Some pretty solid pitchers on tonight's slate. So if you want to play somebody else, definitely feel free to do that as well. He goes against the Washington Nationals. He's pitched really well versus them so far this year. He had a 40-point performance as well as a 35-point performance. And then last year in 2023, only pitched against them one time, but did have 30 points in that. So some decent upside to be had there at that, averaging about 33.5 fantasy points on the season. And if we look at what he's done in total on the season, 11 wins. ERA is at 3.6, so the ERA has always been kind of a little bit elevated with Aaron Nola, but the upside is definitely there on any given slate. So definitely hoping for a little bit of that upside at $9,600 tonight. Then we're going to move down to second base with Jonathan India, $3,000, averaging just under 10 fantasy points per game. Goes against the Kansas City Royals. And Michael Lorenzen is the expected starting pitcher for them tonight. And in his career versus Michael Lorenzen, Jonathan India is 3 for 3 with 1 home run. And if we look at what Jonathan India has done as of late, not the greatest if we're being honest. So he was on a kind of a slump, but broke out of it in a pretty big way with a 2 home run game. Kind of hoping that trend continues today. And if we look at what he's done so far on the season, 249 average, 11 home runs, 45 RBIs, once again averaging just under 10 fantasy points per game at $3,000. Looks like a pretty solid option altogether. Not really getting to that red stack, but I think Jonathan India is a very interesting one of for GPP purposes. And then we're going to move down to a third base with Alec Bohm. You could also play him at first base. He's $3,400, averaging just under 11 fantasy points per game on the season. Goes against the Washington Nationals, and Patrick Corbin is the expected starting pitcher for them. He is 9 for 25 with 2 home runs in his career versus Patrick Corbin. Some pretty good history there at that. And if we look at what he's done as of late, he's had at least 1 hit in 15 out of his last 16 games, 5 multi-hit games during that time span, 2 home runs, 8 double-digit performances, and then he also has 11 games of at least 9 fantasy points or higher. So has a pretty safe floor, really attractive matchup going against Patrick Corbin tonight. So definitely do like the upside of Alec Bohm and this Philadelphia lineup overall. Then we're going to move down to the outfield. We're going to start off with Steven Kwan at $3,300, averaging about 11 fantasy points per game on the season. Goes against the Milwaukee Brewers. Aaron Savali on the mound. He is 2 for 3 versus Aaron Savali in his career. Not too much history there as they are former teammates. He has at least 1 hit in 5 out of his last 6 games. Only 1 multi-hit game during that time span, which is a little disappointing for Steven Kwan, but does have 2 home runs, 2 double-digit performances, and 4 games of at least 9 fantasy points or higher. So I do kind of like the safe floor with Steven Kwan, but I do like the upside that could be there versus Aaron Savali tonight for him and this Guardians team overall. And if we look at what Steven Kwan's done over the course of the season, 325 average, 13 home runs, 36 RBIs, once again averaging about 11 fantasy points per game at $3,300. And then last but not least, I had to sneak a Dodger in here, and this one was kind of a cheap guy, and Kiki Hernandez, $2,600. Averaging just under 6 fantasy points per game, but he is one of those part-time players. Part-time players typically have a lower fantasy points per game, but Kiki Hernandez is eligible to outfield, first base, second base, third base, so kind of fill him in anywhere you need him for tonight's slate overall. $2,600 doesn't look like a bad price tag. He is 3 for 5 versus Miles Mikolas in his career. And if we look at what Kiki Hernandez has done as of late, he's been a pretty regular starter as of late, and 4 out of his last 5 games, he has at least 1 hit, 1 multi-hit game during that time span. He does not have a home run during that time span. He has 1 double-digit performance, 2 games of at least 9 fantasy points or higher. So I do kind of like, that upside. If we can double-digit points out of him at $2,600 with some versatility in a good lineup tonight, in an attractive matchup, that's kind of why I like Kiki Hernandez in general. If you don't want to play him, obviously feel free not to play him tonight. I just was kind of looking for a cheaper hitter to throw in with some of these other guys at the same time as well. But with that being said, if you go with these 5 players that I do currently have listed here, you will have $13,100 remaining, just under $3,300 per player remaining. So a decent amount of money left over. You might want to get to some Dodgers stacks. You might want to get to some Yankee stacks, some Philly stacks. Some of those guys are going to cost a pretty penny tonight. So kind of mix and match as you do see fit the rest of the way from here. If you really want to go with like a balanced build the rest of the way, you can definitely do that as well. But with that being said, we'll get moved over to my cheat sheet and talk about my top GPP teams to stack for tonight's slate overall. So once again, the cheat sheet is 100% free. It's up on Facebook, it's up on Twitter, it's up on the YouTube community tab. So definitely feel free to use it as you're building out your lineups for tonight's slate overall. But the 4 teams that I do have here, we have the Los Angeles Dodgers. They're going against Miles Mikolas, and Miles Mikolas is not pitching that great as of late, and this Dodgers team has hit him really well in the past, whether that's Freddie Freeman, Shohei Ohtani, Kiki Hernandez, you kind of name it, Mookie Betts as well. And then we move over to the Philadelphia Phillies going against Patrick Corbin. Obviously, Corbin struggled the last few years, and the Phillies have hit him really hard. So whether that's Bryce Harper, JT Realmuto, Kyle Schwarber, Alec Boehm, pretty much anybody from this Phillies team is going to be live for tonight's game. And then we have the Cleveland Guardians going against Aaron Cifali. Not that much history there because, like I mentioned with Steven Kwan, former teammates, so a lot of them haven't faced him too much. Just one start last year when he was with Tampa Bay. He has not pitched very well this year, so I do like the upside of that Guardians team overall. And then last but not least, I have the New York Yankees. I believe it's going to be Brian Herter on the mound. By the time you're watching this video, we could have different news. It could be him. It could be Kenta Maeda if he pitched earlier today or not. And then it's kind of that Detroit bullpen at the end of the day. Pretty much any team that's going against Detroit at this point in time, unless Tariq Skubal is pitching, is probably going to be a team that you can stack on any given slate. But with that being said, that's kind of what I do have in terms of core picks as well as top GPP stacks for today, August 16th. As always, if you have any questions related to MLB DFS, be sure to drop them down in the comments and I'll get back to you as quickly as possible. And then as always, I'll be listing all the weather updates, all the starting pitcher updates down in the comment section, as well as the starting lineups as they do get announced throughout the afternoon and early evening. So definitely be on the lookout for that, especially as we do get closer to lock. But with that being said, if you are brand new to my channel, checking out for the very first time, or have yet to subscribe, please consider doing so. Definitely would appreciate it. Helps to build the community that we're trying to build here at Coach Craig Sports, which is one that's truly for you, the viewers, helping you with your DFS. Right now, we have MLB DFS in terms of the core pick videos Monday through Friday, and then I do have my CFL DFS video coming out once a week, typically on Wednesdays. This week's video is up at this point in time. That slate did start tonight, but if you're interested in 2-game slate, single-game slate, definitely some relevant information over there as well. And then last but not least, if you're interested in sports betting, if you're interested in prop betting whatsoever, be sure to check out the links and promo codes down in the description below for Parlay Play, Prize Picks, and BetUS. If you are a brand new user on any one of those 3 sites, when you sign up, make your initial deposit, you will get a first match deposit bonus. For Prize Picks and Parlay Play, it's a 100% match up to $100. And then for BetUS, it's a 125% match on your first 3 deposits up to $2,500 in aggregate. So some pretty great opportunities to be had out there. If you have any other additional questions related to that whatsoever, feel free to reach out to me, whether it's down in the comment section of this video or on Twitter at Coach Craig Sport, and be more than happy to help you with that journey as well. But with that being said, that's all that I truly have for today's video. Definitely do appreciate each and every one of you tuning in. Definitely means a lot to me. I hope that each and every one of you have a great rest of your day and some pretty good luck in MLB DFS tonight.